As a music producer, one of the most important things you'll need when defining your own sound is effects plugins, the things that sit on top of your synths and instruments to change and improve their sound. With any DAW, you'll be able to use the software's stock plugins made by the same company as the DAW, but these are only really good enough to start you off with when you first begin producing music. I first started producing electronic music back in late 2016, which was also when I started sixth form with Logic Pro 10. But the first software that I was able to use properly was Mixcraft 7, made by Acoustica. I was only able to use their stock plugins, of course, but I'm not going to lie, they weren't particularly great. They were very basic and they were very primitive. The plugins that were available to me weren't really what I needed to produce the high quality music that I was aspiring to produce, which of course meant that I had to divert my attention to the internet to try and find better plugins. And when you're making music, you want to be able to use the best sounds possible, which often requires buying expensive equipment like MIDI keyboards, speakers, microphone, stuff like that, and also buying expensive digital software, including lots of expensive plugins. But of course, most people starting out making new music will be on a relatively low budget. This doesn't have to be a problem though. Some of the most well-known and most well-respected plugins used in electronic music are completely free. In fact, most of the plugins that I've used in my musical career over the last few years have been completely free. But which ones are my favourites? Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 personal favourite free VST effects plugins that you can download today. Number 10. CMT Bit Crusher by CMT. You can create some really interesting sounds with a plugin called a bit crusher, a digital distortion device that can reduce the bit depth and sample quality of a sound to produce a more unnatural and ugly sound often found in dubstep sounds. The simplest way to do this is with CMT's Bit Crusher plugin. It's simple, easy to use, and offers up to 40 times downsampling, 4 different distortion modes, a wet to dry mix control, and a drive control. The reason why this sits at the number 10 spot is because some of the features of this plugin are slightly broken. Unfortunately, when you close and reopen your project later, you'll find that your settings on this plugin have been reset because it doesn't save properly. My way around this has always been to automate the settings that I choose and to keep this automation constant. However, I shouldn't really have to do that since none of my other plugins have that problem. But if you need a small, free and simple bit crusher, then this will definitely start you off in the right direction. Number 9. Noise Filter by Noise. EQ or equalization is going to be one of your best friends when it comes to producing music, and sometimes all you need is a simple, single filter to fix a small problem in your track. The Noise Filter is a small and elegant EQ plugin that offers not only a sleek design, but also several typical filter features like high pass, low pass, band pass or notch filter, a resonance control, a drive control, and even an ambience control, which is something I've not seen in other EQ plugins. Automating this plugin for use in dance music build sections can also have some really interesting effects. But this leads to the reason why this sits at the number 9 spot. The automation works great when actually producing the track in your DAW, but it doesn't export correctly. The filter stays at wherever the automation point starts in your track, which is of course a bit of a problem. Number 8. Old School Verb by Voxengo. Reverb in a track is beautiful. It can create some incredible atmospheres in your track, and one surefire way to get some of the biggest kinds of reverb is with this plugin. It offers a ton of flexibility with dampening controls, EQ controls, a wet dry mix control, and a reverb time of up to 10 seconds, plus a number of useful presets for when you can't be asked to do it yourself. I've been able to create some extremely amazing sounds with this plugin, some really wide and atmospheric reverbs, but as great as reverb is, it can only get you so far. This next plugin offers a lot more than just a change in space. Number 7. Isotope Vinyl by Isotope. This one is most definitely a favourite among lo-fi and chill hop producers. Why? Because for the price of exactly $0 and 0 cents, it can produce a variety of vintage effects such as warping, vinyl scratches and dust, electrical and mechanical noise, and wear and tear. It also allows you to choose specific time periods that reflect the sound you're looking for. For example, turning the dial on the right to 1930 gives a gritty high pass effect. One warning I would give about this plugin is that I have experienced a few crashes when trying to remove the plugin from the effects rack, which is not really ideal. An incredibly useful plugin if you're looking specifically to produce older effects. Number 6. Bittersweet V3 by Flux. One of the biggest and easiest mistakes I've made in the past when making music is not making my kicks punchy enough by increasing the transients on them. One of the best ways to do this is using bittersweet, which can be used to increase or decrease the transients of any sound, although typically you would want to use it on percussive sounds. It also has a sidechain control, allowing transients to be more flexibly changed based on an external source. The reason why this is at the number 6 spot is because of how imperative it is to control transients of your drums, especially the kick in a dance track. By moving this dial a fraction to the right, you can vastly improve the balance of percussion versus everything else in your track. Number 5, Sibilance by Waves. Vocals in any track have a special kind of authority, but they also need a lot of tight processing before you can get to the fun effects like reverb. One of the most important things to do early on in any vocal processing chain is to remove the harsh, high frequencies from saying the letter S. Otherwise, this can actually be very painful to the listener, and this is best done with the Sibilance plugin. Another simple plugin with a well-designed interface to show you exactly what's happening to your vocals as you're processing them, and also comes in 4 different versions: mono, stereo, live mono and live stereo to suit different processing needs. Number 4, Camel Crusher by Camel Audio. Another huge challenge in electronic sound design is making your synth sound as thick and as full as possible. This is often a complex task, but is made much easier with the Camel Crusher distortion plugin. Not only does it come with a lot of different presets for every modification that you ever need, you can mess around with its use of distortion, filters, compression, including a fat mode to give your sound some extra grit, and a master blend. You even have the option to completely randomize the settings, which is a lot of fun to play around with. To get the biggest kinds of sounds for your synths, this is one free plugin you will not want to forget about. Number 3, EasyQ by RSMET. We're coming back to the realm of EQ now, but this time I'm introducing one of the most useful parametric EQ plugins I've ever used. The beauty of this free VST is not just how effective it is, it's just how simple it is. By clicking anywhere on the graph, you can create as many points as you want to mess around with, and for extra precision, you can change the parameters using the options on the right. You can also change the range of decibel values used on the graph for extra precision, and you can change the stereo mode if you don't want the EQ to be stereo linked. And if you don't like the interface, you can give it a dark mode. How about that? Number 2, Ozone Imager by Ozone. Something I always used to forget about when designing the sound I wanted for synth leads and chords was always the stereo spread. To give a track as much energy and atmosphere as possible to give the listener maximum enjoyment is achieved by presenting a sense of space. And I'm not just talking about reverb or panning here, this is actually one of the first things you'll need in your chain of plugins. To prevent a dull and flat sound, you need to allow it to make use of all the space around you, and that's best done with the wonderful Ozone Imager. To me, there's just no imaging plugin quite like this one. It provides various vector scopes to show you where your sound is in the stereo image, which is very visually appealing. It allows you to increase or decrease the size of your sound without making it stereo, and it can turn any mono sound into a perfect stereo one, provided that you balance it properly, of course. It's quite heavy on the CPU, but if you're able to run a DAW, you most likely have a decent enough processor to handle many of these. So what could be better than an imaging plugin that you'd want to use on most of your sounds? Well, how about a plugin that you should use on all of your sounds, and one that I've used on every single one of my tracks ever since I've got it. Number 1, OTT by X for Records. Of all the plugins I've ever used, this one is not only my favourite, but is also the most useful and is used by tens of thousands of producers today. OTT is a very simple and easy to use multi-band compression plugin that can bring out power in a sound you didn't even know it had. Seriously, it's so easy to improve your sounds with this plugin. It compresses and alters 3 different frequency bands with the option to change upwards and downwards compression, overall ratio, output gain, basically everything you would expect from a compression plugin. There's no need for fancy graphs or high CPU usage, there's no need for complex and unnecessary control dials. You can use this for mixing big synths, basses, vocals, drums, and I even use it for mastering. Its incredible flexibility and usability with pretty much every sound under the sun earns it the number 1 spot in the list. And the best thing about it? It's completely free. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you could give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to see more of this content in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!